Right now, as you're watching this video, the sun is dying slowly, quietly, and about 70 billion years from now, it'll be gone. But here's what nobody tells you. 70 of all the stars in the universe are completely invisible to you. You've never seen them, not even once they're out there. Right now, and your naked eye will never find them. They're called red dwarfs, and these tiny, dim, overlooked stars, they might be the last place humanity ever calls home. They might be where alien life is hiding right now. And one of them will be the very last star to die, when the entire universe finally goes dark forever. So today, we're going to answer 3 questions that might be the most important questions in science right now. What are red dwarfs? Could aliens be living around one? And could one of them save the human race? Stick around, because the answer to that last one is way more complicated than you'd think. You know, Jupiter, right? The biggest planet in our solar system. So massive that you could fit over 25 Earths inside it. A red dwarf is only a little bigger than that. Let that sink in for a second. These things are classified as stars. They're actually fusing hydrogen into helium right now. But they're sitting right on the edge of not qualifying. They have between 40 and 2e and the mass of our sun, just a tiny bit less hydrogen. And they wouldn't be a star at all. They'd be what scientists call a brown dwarf, a failed star, an object that tried to ignite and just couldn't. Red dwarfs made it, but barely. And because they're so small, they burn incredibly slow. Where our sun is like a bonfire, bright, powerful, and burning through fuel fast, a red dwarf is a single candle, dim, quiet, but almost impossible to extinguish. There is also something structurally unique about them. Most stars, like our sun, accumulate their waste product helium in their core. Eventually, that helium buildup causes problems, but red dwarfs stay convective, meaning their hydrogen and helium constantly mix throughout the entire star. They recycle their own fuel. It is the difference between a car that burns through a tank of gas in an hour and one that somehow gets 1,000,000 miles per gallon. Okay, so how long do red dwarfs actually live? Our sun has about 30 billion years left. The universe itself is only 30 billion years old. Red dwarfs live between 30 and trillion years. That is not a typo, 1 trillion years. The universe hasn't even existed for 30 red dwarfs' potential lifespan. This means something almost poetic. Every single red dwarf that exists right now is still in its infancy. Not one of them has ever reached its middle age. Not one has ever died. The trillions of red dwarfs scattered across the universe are all, cosmically speaking, newborns. We have no idea what an old red dwarf looks like, because none of them are old yet, and when the last red dwarf finally does die, trillions of years from now, it won't go out with a bang. No supernova, no explosion. It'll just shrink, slowly transform into a blue dwarf as its hydrogen runs out. Then a white dwarf, a dense cooling ember about the size of Earth. And eventually, over more trillions of years, it'll cool into a black dwarf, a cold, dark, dead object drifting through an empty universe. That is how the story of stars ends. Not with a bang, with a whisper. Here's where things get really interesting. NASA's Kepler Space Observatory found that at least half of all red dwarfs host rocky planets. And many of those planets sit in what scientists call the habitable zone. The distance from a star where liquid water could exist on the surface. Water, the ingredient scientists consider essential for life. In our galaxy alone, estimates suggest there are over 1 billion potentially habitable planets around red dwarfs and billion. In just the Milky Way, if even a fraction of those have life, we are not alone, not even close. But this is but living around a red dwarf isn't exactly easy. Because red dwarfs burn cold, their habitable zone is extremely close. We're talking closer than Mercury is to our sun. And being that close to a star creates some serious problems. Problem 1, tidal locking. A planet that close would almost certainly become tidally locked, meaning the same side always faces the star. Just like how the same side of the moon always faces Earth. One side of the planet would be in permanent blazing daylight, the other side in permanent frozen darkness. Could life survive in that twilight ring between the two? Maybe, possibly. Some scientists think a large enough ocean could distribute heat and create a thin band of habitability. But it is a long shot. Problem 2, the star itself is unstable. Here is something that sounds terrifying when you really think about it. Red dwarfs can have massive dark spots, similar to sunspots, that dim their light output by up to SU-T for months at a time. Imagine your sun suddenly getting SU-D dimmer, oceans start freezing, temperatures plummet, ecosystems collapse. And then, just when things start recovering, the star flares, red dwarfs are known for violent, sudden solar flares. These bursts of energy can double the star's brightness in minutes. The radiation that hits a nearby planet could strip away its atmosphere, destroy its ozone layer, fry the surface. For life to survive around a red dwarf, it would need to be tough, almost unimaginably tough. But then again, life on Earth has survived asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and ice ages, so maybe tough is exactly what life is. So let's talk about us. In about 1 billion years, not T-billion, 1 billion, the sun will have heated up enough that complex life on Earth becomes impossible. The oceans will start evaporating, the surface will become uninhabitable. That is actually not that far away, cosmologically speaking, which means at some point humanity has a choice. Either we die with our star, or we find a new one. And a well-behaved red dwarf, it could be the most perfect long-term home imaginable. Think about what that means. A civilization that settles around a stable red dwarf isn't just buying a few million years. They're buying potentially trillions of years of continuous existence. Trillions of years to evolve, to build, to discover things we can't even begin to imagine today. About 70 of red dwarfs in the Milky Way may host habitable Earth-sized planets. That works out to more than 7 billion candidates, just in our galaxy, and it is not just planets. Scientists also consider the moons of gas giants called super-Earths, really massive rocky planets orbiting red dwarfs, as candidates for habitability. When you add it all up, 30 billion opportunities for life in the Milky Way alone becomes less of a statistic and more of a near certainty. Something is out there. The question is just whether we'll ever find it, or whether it'll find us first. Here is the image I want to leave you with. Trillions of years from now, long after our sun is gone, long after every star like it has died, there will be one last red dwarf still burning. It will be alone in a universe that has gone almost completely dark. Every other star, dead. Every galaxy, quiet. The only light left in existence will be this one tiny, dim, reddish glow, and then it too will shrink, cool, fade. And the universe will go dark forever. That is actually going to happen, not as a metaphor, not as sci-fi. That is the projected fate of the observable universe based on everything we currently understand about physics. But here is what I find weirdly comforting about all of this. We are nowhere near that point, not even close. The universe is still in its cosmic morning. Red dwarfs are still babies. And if humanity figures out how to leave this solar system, there are trillions of years of starlight left. Trillions of years to find other life, to build something extraordinary. To become something we can't yet picture. The universe isn't ending. For all practical purposes, it is barely begun. And the stars that are going to carry us through most of it, they're the ones you've never even seen.